We're live.
I'm bringing my coffee quick.
We're live.
Oh, we're live and I'm screaming.
I'm bringing my coffee.
I didn't think we were quite live yet, but
yeah, we're live on YouTube. Three chicks walk into a bar. We've been away for, we've missed a few weeks.
Oh, we were live and I'm screaming. There's definitely a little bit of a background there. Sorry about that little weird introduction, everybody. I'm like, I cannot do this without a coffee. Thank you very much. And can you close the door? This is real life, you guys.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're like,
you're a mompreneur.
Mompreneur life. Yeah, Nora knows what I'm talking about. I've got two.
Mom didn't bring me coffee though. I need to work on that up.
Yeah, got to get new stuff. So we've missed a few weeks. We've had so many life obstacles, but the three of us have finally met together here today. Yes. This morning for some of you, lunchtime for some of you, evening for me. And it's just amazing to come back together, three of us. And we're going to be talking about a really interesting topic, right? Which I know is particularly close to Nora's heart. We're going to be talking about addictive behaviors, self-sabotage, habits. What causes us to have these addictive behaviors, and what can we do about it? This has been a big thing that I've been talking about with my clients recently, and I think we all suffer in some way from addictive behaviors, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. We all know someone who has suffered from an addiction, and it's funny, we were just chatting for a couple minutes before we got started, and when we talk about addiction, I think a lot of us immediately go to alcohol and drugs, and yeah, that's the most prominent, I feel, because it can have such an obvious impact on our lives, but there's other addictions that many of us have that don't talk about it. And, like I believe that many are addicted to suffering.
Yeah,
I believe
that's a good one.
that many are addicted to negative self-talk. Yeah. And, when I look back to myself, I can see some of that in myself, even in the past. I mean, I've been open about going through a transformation myself, but there was a time where I was just so addicted to negativity and complaining, and clearly that did not serve me at the time.
Right.
I think it's important though to recognize too, right? Not all addictions are bad. So I think addiction is a part of everybody's life. I think everybody's a little bit OCD, if not a little bit ODD. I will admit that. But I think it's important to again point out that addiction or being obsessive and compulsive is part of nature, really. It's what we choose to be addicted to. Like I could have chosen to be addicted to alcoholism or chosen what my lineage dictates that I'm addicted to, but I traded that out to be addicted to iron, addicted to protein, probably protein supplements, Quest chips, I admit it. But, and that's the thing. It's like really looking at it and being honest with yourself to say, yes, I do have an addictive personality. I think all of us do. And I think it's really important. And I speak to my clients about this a lot. Guys, when you're eating those foods that are processed or whatever, like, those genetically modified ingredients and things like that, companies, if you read the Food Fix, and I forget the author, I always forget him. Somebody will post it underneath us because everybody is really
I don't know.
I think his last name is Hyman, maybe, but he talks about the fact that we take for granted that we have great genes or that we have great genetics, going forward. And that's not necessarily true. These GMO companies have put so many additives and so many things in our food that get you addicted. That's what keeps you going back to Skinny Pop.
Like MSG, monosodium glutamate, they
right.
have Chinese takeaways.
High fructose corn syrup, like all that stuff is highly addictive ingredients. So
for a reason,
when you're coming to us and you're saying you're a binge eater on M&Ms, like there's a reason, there's like a physiological and a manufacturing reason why that happens, because the companies are spending billions of dollars to make sure you stay there. So if you take for granted, well, I have great genetics, I can smoke and there won't be anything that happens to me. I could drink and, my grandparents lived until they were 100. I can eat this crappy food. They're saying in this book, The Food Fix, that that's no longer true, that we are actually changing our DNA as the generations go on. So this is a very important thing for us to all look at and be honest about, I think.
It's fascinating to me, really, really fascinating. And you're right to say that not all addictive behaviors are bad, because the top athletes are addictive personalities. I'm competing right now. I compete every year, and definitely I've got a hugely addictive personality. You know, if I didn't, I wouldn't be able to sacrifice large parts of my life in the year, turn down many events because I'm dieting so strictly and train so hard for this one event. If I wasn't so laser focused and, like you say, addicted to that, I wouldn't get the results on stage. So I often say to my clients, you know, the way I live now, because I compete, is very extreme. But if I stopped competing when I do, I'll be way more balanced. And then I'll be able to work on my body being a similar kind of shape all the time, instead of needing to extremely go up and down, which is what I need at the moment for stage. And yet I'm very healthy with it. Like, not so much when I'm extremely depleted, but at the rest of the time, more than your average person. So it is, I guess, how do you pick your addictions? Like, how do you choose?
I think it has a lot to do, like, obviously there's some lineage part in it, like you brought up, Nora, but I think it has a lot to do with where you are and what point in your life. I mean, I was addicted to self-suffering in the past, and now I want to say I'm hugely addicted to self-growth at the moment. I'm reading all the books. I am doing all the healthy healings. I just had a healthy awakening session. I had a shamanic healing session. I am just digging deep into this stuff, and I really feel like I am addicted to self-growth at the moment. Obviously that's more of a healthy one, but then I can see some people in my life, and this is super common, by the way, for anyone who is in a journey of self-improvement. I'm seeing some people in my life, like, they don't like that. They don't like that at all. They're like,
they feel threatened.
Yeah, you're growing. Wait, no, I liked you before. No, it's better. I don't have to see what you're doing and know that it's what I want to be doing and become threatened by it. So it's a weird thing, but I do want to say that I'm addicted to self-growth right now, and I'm happily addicted.
How did you change, Jenny? Jenny, how did you change from being addicted to negativity, or you say you were, and to flip that right over? What tools did you use to move?
It wasn't an easy thing. This was over the course of years, multiple years. It started with, you know what it started with? It started with a psychic reading. I had a psychic reading about 10 years ago, and she introduced me to gratitude, and she told me to go read the book, The Secret. So I went and read The Secret, and I know it's an easy read and not everybody loves it. I love it. I've read it dozens of times now, and I actually suggest many of my clients read it. Sometimes if somebody's particularly struggling, I'll even send it to them. Amazon, here you go, shows up at your door. Be happier. You've got the control to be happier. Little things like sticky notes with affirmation statements all over my mirror. I would write on my mirror in eyeliner and lip liner. I would write these affirmation statements just to remind myself that, no, you are not fat. No, you are not a terrible mother. No, you are not always busy. No, you are not always struggling. No, there's not always not enough time. And it took a very, very, very long time for my mindset to begin to shift. And I've been on this journey for about 10 years. And really, I want to say just the last 3 or 4 years, I feel like I'm in control now. I allow a negative thought to come in, and I'm aware of it, and I just change it. Before, I used to think that's impossible. How can I change my thoughts? They're coming in left, right, and center. There's hundreds of them in a day. How can I possibly change those negative thoughts? But now, again, I just let them come in and I hear them and I'm like, okay, well, that's not true. So shut your face.
So, you know what? It's like training and eating. It's consistency, consistent practice, right?
And habits. Like, habits do not form overnight. They don't. And, I'm sure you can relate in terms of your training and your bodybuilding. I just have a teeny tiny bit of experience in bodybuilding, but it is habits that you do over and over and over again until it becomes habitual and it becomes a part of your routine. And then once it's a habit, it's, it's there. It's not going to go
automatic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think too, I mean, addicts don't change until they hit rock bottom. I think that whatever you're addicted to, depending on, it takes a willingness to look inside yourself, which most people don't have until they cannot stand to go forward the way they are, right? That's what it's all about. So, particularly for me, I think too, it wasn't a question of was I going to get better or was I going to look at my addictions, but when things in life happened to me that were, life altering, like my brother dying or my grandmother dying, like so much loss that I had suffered. The old way would have been to pick up a vodka or pick up wine or pick up, I'm trying to think what other things I was addicted to, but it wasn't getting me any further. And I just had enough of that. I just had enough of being in the same state all the time, like waking up and being like, God, this sucks. Or like binge eating. I mean, guys, you know what it's like to eat a ton of M&Ms. You wake up the next day and, oh my.
You feel like a food hangover.
Oh, yeah.
It's gross. Like it's disgusting.
After every competition, I've done this.
And I just didn't want to do that anymore. And I think that the first question that you have to ask yourself, is your addiction subconscious or is it conscious? Because most people have really subconscious addictions. Like Jenny said, are you addicted to suffering? Because the binging and the alcoholism and the drug addiction, that's all part of that, more so than addressing. It's easy to say I'm not going to drink anymore. It's easy to say I'm not going to smoke anymore. It's easy to say I'm going to cut out sugar, right?
But why did you do that?
What Jenny is talking about, which is being addicted to suffering all the time. You're going to end up with a different addiction that's still going to lead you into a hole.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So it's digging down to the root problem,
right? Not
just the symptoms. It's like, and how do you do that, Nora? How do you get down to those roots?
Dig down. Well, usually it's to me, I always tell my clients, I look forward to the moments in life that really challenge me, to the absolute failure, to that absolute black moment. And you have to listen to people like David Goggins. You have to listen to The Rock. You have to listen to people who are out of their mind, because they'll be like, you thought you were done. You're not done. Your brain is telling you you're done. It was that kind of stuff, because again, when I would have those moments, and I think Nicole helped us all with this, I would have those moments before and I'd be like, why is life doing this to me? Like, why is this happening? And now I'm like, life knows I can handle this and I'm going to reinvent myself again. It's such a more powerful way to think about it. So, I used to be stuck at like squatting like 135. Like now life hands me something, I'm going out there, I'm putting 205 on that bar just to prove to myself that no matter what happens, I will get it off my back.
Okay, so do you know what I've picked up from that? It's your perspective change, because we're in charge of that. So like you're saying, things can happen to you in life, but you can change how you see it and what you do with it, right? That's only that we can control.
Yeah, I have this thing that I share with my clients, and I think it was actually Nicole who taught us this as well. We cannot control our circumstances. There's nothing we can do about our circumstances. Like there's a pandemic right now, we can't control that, but we can control our thoughts. And mastering our thoughts, mastering our mindset, that's going to control how we feel. Obviously, if you're thinking like, oh my gosh, I come from a long line of addicts, I'm going to become an addict, then you're going to feel like you are destined to be an addict. Or instead, if you're thinking, I've got control over myself, my body, my choices, then you're going to feel really good and confident about that. Our feelings are what is going to ultimately affect our action, whether we pick up that drink or not, whether we binge eat or not, whether we are addicted to self-suffering or not. And then those actions ultimately bring us to our results. What we do is going to either get us down path A or path B. And just knowing that, this is something I'm telling you, I repeat almost every week with my clients. Like, you guys, it's mastering our mindset. Just like you said, Holly, it's all about perspective.
Yeah. And I think too, I mean, there is a formula. Do you guys remember that formula? It was like, a circumstance is a circumstance. A thought is a sentence created by your brain. It has absolutely zero power if you just read it as a sentence, right? The only time it has power is when we attach that feeling to it. The feeling makes us react, like proactively react, or just shut down completely. And then you can work that formula in reverse. So if you want to, guys, if you want to take this into your life now and you want to figure out where you're suffering, what is keeping you from your goals, you can work this formula in reverse, right? Just think of your life in segments, whether it's relationship, whether it's your fitness part of it, whether it's your job, your career, whatever, your family. Think of those areas that you really want to work on. Think of what your action there is. Are you inactive? And then think back, what's your feeling, right? What's your feeling? Why are you inactive? Do you feel inadequate? Do you feel whatever? Then work it back to what was the thought in your head and what was the circumstance that created that? And you can change it.
That's exactly it. Yeah. I started reading that book, You Were Not Your Brain. And so much of this stems to the fact that our brain just hasn't evolved. It's just trying to keep us safe. We have a thought and it scares us. We get scared and we just go into fight or flight, you know? It's like, we can't really control it, but we can control our perspective.
Yeah, 100%. Like, oh, so go.
No, but you can control like what, that's the thing that kills me is like, fight or flight is always going to be there. We're always going to have that instinct. I mean, people look at you, Holly, at you, Jenny, at me, and think that we somehow have the answer. Like we don't have the answer. We're not perfect by any standards. We have the same as everybody else. We eat M&Ms just like everybody else. There are bad food days. We drink alcohol. It happens. Trust me. I shared with my clients my refeed day yesterday. I think they were horrified. But, you know,
and yet you look amazing.
It's like fitting it into your life and making sure that, you know, at the end of every day, you have to ask yourself, do I feel good or do I feel bad? Mm-hmm. If you feel good, keep going. If you feel bad, address it. Don't be scared of it. And it's like, it might take a little bit, but you've like 3 coaches here that can tell you. Again, I love this quote by Tony Robbins. He said, I don't have bad days. I have bad times. Mm-hmm. Because people get stuck, like Jenny says, in this momentum of whatever feeling you have, guys, whatever feeling you have, whatever overall feeling you have about your life, whether you're satisfied, whether you're happy, whether you're sad, that all gains momentum by your thoughts. You're creating the momentum of your thoughts. So karma, karma, karma. You're always suffering. You're always sad. You're always blah, blah, blah. You're going to stay in that drinking thing. Everybody knows what happened to my brother, right? He died from that. That is not, and it's not always going to be that drastic, but why not take control of what you can take control of now and just say, okay, I do have an addictive personality. Most of us do. I hate to break it to the world, but yeah, most of you have an addictive personality. And it's what you choose to be addicted to. I choose to be addicted to iron. I choose to be addicted to protein subs. People think it's crazy. People think it's ridiculous that I'm addicted to running. My coaches scream at me all the time, why are you running? You can't run. You need to gain muscle. I'll find a way.
Yeah. You love it. Have you guys heard, I jotted it down because I wanted to share with you. I didn't know if you'd heard it. You know Wayne Dyer? Mm-hmm. You guys heard of him. Did you hear when he shared the story of his friend Portia? And she was at a seminar and they asked all the people there to describe their life in 5 chapters. Did you hear that? Mm-hmm. And did you hear what Portia said? Do you remember? Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I do.
You, Nora?
I've never heard it.
I'm going to share it because I wrote it down. Like I can't do it justice like Wayne because he's the ultimate storyteller. Mm-hmm. But I just jotted down some words.
You want me to throw it up, Holly? I could throw it up.
Oh, hey, why? Yeah, why not? Yeah. Hey, will you have him actually speaking? If you just type in Wayne Dyer, Portia street, one-way street or street, and it comes up because he tells it, and what he shares of Portia is exactly what's going on here, and it'll feed into something that I wanted to say about it afterwards.
Okay, it's only about 2 minutes, so just bear with me for 1 second. I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen, you guys. You might see all the billions of tabs.
You're the techno guru.
You are the guru, Jen.
All right, let's listen to this bad boy.
A friend of mine, her name was Portia Nelson. Portia passed away a few years back. She lived up in Seattle. And she was at a seminar, and they asked her to, and they asked everyone to write on a 5x7 sheet of paper or card, the 5 chapters of their life. They only wanted to give them 5x7 cards because they didn't want them to get too wordy. And Portia Nelson sat down and wrote these words: about the 5 chapters of her life, and I thought I would share them here with you. They're so beautiful. She said, chapter 1 of my life. I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I'm lost. I'm helpless. It isn't my fault. And it takes forever to find a way out. Chapter 2 of my life. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place. It isn't my fault. And it still takes a long time to get out. Chapter 3 of my life. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it there. I still fall in. It's a habit. My eyes are open. I know where I am. It's my own fault. And I get out immediately. Chapter 4 of my life. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. Chapter 5 of my life. I walk down another street. Isn't that great? Portia?
Yeah, baby. That is so
I got goosies.
Yeah, me too. That's amazing.
I'm so glad that you shared that, because I could never have done that the way Wayne describes the story, Portia's story. And I think it's incredibly clever, because if you notice, when she's describing her life, she finds it easier to get out of the hole when she accepts it's her fault. Now, when she says that, I don't think she's meaning to attach connotations of shame or guilt or blame, but about accountability. And I think that's hugely important. If you have an addiction or a bad habit that you really want to change, it starts with identifying what that is, owning it, and then it being empowered to change it. And therefore, next time you can walk around the hole, and then next time you can go right down a different street completely. But the thing in that story that struck me was when she said, it's my fault. Mm-hmm. I keep falling in this hole. No one's making me, no one's pushing me in this hole. No one's force feeding me this crap. No one's putting me in a bar to drink alcohol or putting a cigarette in my mouth. I'm owning that. And that's really, when at first that can make you feel like, I hate that, like it's all my fault and everything. But then you can be like, wow, well, if it's me that is in charge of all of that, I have the power to change it. And that's really empowering, guys. When you accept that, which I have in areas of my life, and which we all have because we run our own businesses, and this is the kind of stuff that can come up, I think, for us, you can up level like so fast, because you accept that you can do so much stuff. It's so empowering. Do you guys find that?
Oh, 100%. We always, I say this often because I believe in it so thoroughly. We always tell our kids, the sky's the limit. You can do whatever you want. No one can stop you from doing anything but you. But we forget it as adults. Like, we don't apply it to ourselves, and then we get in our own damn way time after time after time. And I think it's about time that we all just recognize that we can do absolutely anything, including overcoming addiction. And we were talking a little bit about this right before we started. So I had another psychic reading recently, and I asked if there were any spirits near me. I want to be able to write a list to my loved ones on the full moon, my wishes, put it under my pillow. And I've had a lot of readings, but particular spirits have never come up. So I said, who's with me? And she said, I see a grandmother who had a lot of sons. I was thinking, okay, well, most of my grandmothers are still with me. So I think you're probably talking about my great grandmother. And she had 15 children, many of which were sons. And she said, are any of the boys on the other side? And I said, yeah, quite a few of them have passed away. These are my great uncles, so my mom's uncles. And she said, okay, yep, they're all together. Are these like really musical uncles? Like I can feel like they're almost having a jamboree or something. And I'm like, yeah, so many of them played guitar and sang music. And I don't have a ton of memories of them growing up, but most of my memories are like big pig roast where everyone's sitting around a fire or sitting in a garage if it's chilly with like music and everybody's drinking beer and there's kids running around everywhere. I had a huge family, you guys. And she said to me, okay, now I'm getting a really strong smell of alcohol. Was there alcoholism in your family? And up until very recently, I wasn't totally aware. I was a little bit aware, but we don't always talk about this stuff, right? There's so much shame surrounding it. And when I look back and I realize, okay, well, this is in my lineage, I can recognize times in my life where I have had very addictive traits towards alcohol. I've always been able to pick it up and put it down, no problem. It's not like I'm going to drink every single day or drink every single weekend. But when I have drank in my life, it's almost always been to excess. And since I have been on this journey of self-development, I've had a couple times where I've drank too much, but I now have a much easier time recognizing when I'm there.
You get out of the hole.
That's exactly it. I'm in this hole. This was my fault. I'm going to get out of it. Last summer was a perfect example. And I think a lot of people will relate to this. The pandemic hit in March. Summertime came. Most of us were in lockdown. What did we do? I personally went to Costco Liquor and got a 60-pound, like a 60-ounce bottle of gin and vodka. I'm like, oh, if I'm going to be in lockdown, I better make sure I'm stocked up on booze. And I drank too much last summer. I did. And I recognized it. And I was like, okay, this has got to stop. I made sure the people in my life, the people who are closest to me, know that it's my intention that I do not want to have a repeat this summer. Like, guys, yes, I'll have a drink or two with you, but I am not going to drink to excess this summer. And I recognized it and I got myself out of the hole. And I'm going to stay out of the hole. I'm going to take a different street this summer.
Yeah. That's so
and this
cool.
is like very recent. This is this year, you guys. Like this is just like you said, Nora. Some people will look at us and be like, oh, you guys have got it together. Like it's easy for you to say you're already fit. You don't suffer with addiction. You know the secret. No, we don't know the secret. We still suffer. We are still working on ourselves every single day. We just choose to work on ourselves every single day.
Well, yeah, I mean, choose to work on yourself too, but I think we also choose to be honest with ourselves. Like David Goggins always says, the most important conversation you have is the one you have with yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people don't want to have conversations with themselves. A lot of people want to say, again, well, her brother did this, or my friends do this, or this one really seems to have a problem, or this one, blah, 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 blah. I have clients that come into my studio that talk about other clients' food logs that, they've seen online. Like, that's crazy. Like, look at your own stuff. Like, it's really hard to get honest, but once you're honest, it's really easy to work on yourself.
Yeah. And I love bodybuilding. It's my passion. One of the things I love about bodybuilding is you have no control over the other competitors and what they're going to turn up on the day, but you have complete control over yourself. So we're taught a lot in bodybuilding, just work on the judges' feedback on you from last year and just bring your best self, and don't even be looking at other people on Instagram that are going to be competing with you. Just work on yourself, and that's all you can do. And then when you come to the stage, just be your best self, and everyone's just going to be their best selves, and somebody will fit the criteria best. And that's cool because that's competition. But wasting so much energy, like looking at, because I know I'm competing in the Arnold's in October, which will be a really big show. I'm so excited. And I know there'll be tons and tons of competitors that I know on Instagram and stuff. And I'm not going to waste my energy like looking at what they're doing. And I'm going to really focus on me and like being my best me. And in that way, no matter where I come in the competition, I'll be such a winner because I will have just enjoyed every moment and just done my very best. And totally with you, I would say exactly the same to my clients, because I promote a real culture of occasionally I will share their wins, their different wins in the group, and I expect everybody to motivate and and say congratulations and how cool, because then when it's their turn, the others will do that for them too. And there should never be jealousy, and there won't be jealousy when you're fully accountable for your own habits. That kind of falls away. That's a low level emotion there's no room for when you're just totally honest and happy on your journey, right?
Absolutely. I'm really glad you brought that up, Holly, because I think that the three of us all are in agreement with energy and vibes, and envy and jealousy and comparison is such a low energy to be emitting. It's almost impossible to attract what you are hoping to manifest in your life if you are spending a lot of effort emitting that type of low energy. You've got to be able to emit high energy, gratitude for yourself, gratitude for your journey, forgiveness for yourself, joy. And sometimes that's hard when we are reflecting on our own self and our own journey. But what I've done, because I've had a lot of struggles myself, but what I've done when I do a lot of journaling, when I am feeling low, is be grateful that taught me something. I always say you either win or you learn. And it's so true. Like, yes, it sucks that I drank too much last summer. It does suck. I was ashamed of myself a couple of times, but that taught me that it's time to cut that out. I thought I had control, but I didn't. And that taught me that it's time to regain that control.
That's the same with me of binging after my competitions. Mm-hmm. Every year I have done it. And really, this was the first, when I competed in October in 2020, it was such a tough one because, the shows kept canceling because of COVID. And I really lost my head for 4 weeks after that show. I really just overate I put on like 2 stone or more. That's the worst I've ever been. And it was a shame because then I had my big eating plan to grow and I went straight onto that. So there was no time to kind of lose that fatty water retention that I had put on. And this has been the first off season where I've eaten loads and loads of food. Like I'm on over 3,000 calories most days. It's like a chore to eat it all to get my muscle because it's a bigger class, but it's the best I've ever eaten. There's no binging. I have my treat meal, which I really look forward to. That's extra and it's different and special, but there's none of this need to binge because I got plenty of food, loads and loads of food, and it's all really good food and there's loads of it. This is the best I've ever done. And I feel now that I've changed in a short time, right? And I met an old friend today, and he's known me from when I very first started competing. And I almost wanted him to know how much I changed within the first 5 minutes of meeting him. I wanted him to know I don't do that crap anymore. Like I'm different now. He's like, okay, that's fine. You've changed sometimes. And this is relevant because if you want to let go of an addiction and move forward in a different direction, walk down a different street, your friends and your associates, they have to accept that you are different now. And if they can't, you have to walk on down that street without them, because there are many people that really enjoy almost dragging you back. Well, do you remember when you used to do that? Remember when you used to always eat that chocolate cake like all the time, and you'd go into the shop every single day? And well, yeah, I did. And like you, Jenny, I'm not really proud of that, but I don't do it anymore. And it's interesting how sometimes humans have trouble accepting people change, but it's normal to evolve and change, right?
It's also normal to outgrow people when you're changing.
Yeah, I don't think it's so abnormal. I talk to my clients about this a lot because, within the first 6 weeks of them seeing crazy results, they do their intermittent fasting, they start to see crazy results, and they'll sometimes get, I don't want to say negative pushback. I guess it is negative pushback on the people that they love most. But what we have to remember, right, is that people don't intentionally sabotage. They don't. People don't like change. That's the human condition. We're not conditioned to accept change. We're not conditioned on our basic level, let's say, because we're all a little bit different. I think that we've worked on this a lot. But so it's not that they're sabotaging, but what they're saying to you is, I don't want you to change because I don't want you to leave me. And that's
okay.
So much easier to have compassion, to not abandon, but to have compassion. When you abandon things, you create ignorance, in my belief. When you abandon old friends and when you take a step further on the mountain, your job is to still hold out your hand from your position and help those people that aren't as fortunate enough to have the ability to climb as far as you do, or whatever, or get as far.
If they want to come, Nora.
My assumption is that everybody wants to come, they just don't know how.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
I agree.
That's really cool.
This goes back to the fight or flight thing, you know, like they're just afraid. They're just afraid. I think this is so relevant. I had that shamanic healing session, and what was brought up was that there was a lot of, she said that she could see that I was like a plant about to grow. She said, think of a bean sprout, how they split when they bud. And she said, I can see you just starting to split, and then you don't go any further than that. And it's like you're afraid to grow because you're afraid to lose people, because you've lost so many people. But what I want you to take away from this session today is continue to grow, because you will bring those around you up with you. And if you can, instead of being afraid of losing these people, if you can instead show them compassion, which is exactly what you just said, Nora, then they'll grow with you. And I have personally struggled with this because I have outgrown people and people that were very close to me, and it's painful. But instead of being sad and grieving that I've outgrown them, I think what I need to continue to do more of, and I have been, but continue to do more of, is to show them compassion, and maybe they will up-level themselves as well.
I think the funny thing, it's not funny actually. It's actually kind of but you know, when my brother died, I stopped hanging out in bars. That was one of the first things that I did. Why people hang out in bars and they call it fun and whatever, just to me didn't make sense anymore. Again, that's who I am. That's not who they are. Do I think that everyone who hangs out in a bar is a loser? No, I don't. But, you know, I constantly listen to comments of, well, Nora's no fun. Well, Nora doesn't go out. Well, Nora doesn't have fun. But I do have fun. I have fun walking.
You're so fun.
Rescuing a swan the other day.
And your cat.
You know, looking for my cat for hours and hours. I have fun, you know, and like now I'll talk to my clients, and it's amazing to me. My clients now are people that I used to look up to as my idols, who are coming to me for training. Bizarre. And I said to this girl the other day, I was like, you know, I went to a NASCAR race, and I like sitting there, and that sound is like so exhilarating. It's like, like, you know, and I was like, I really want to be a race car driver. And she's like, you should. I did that at 50. She's 70.
Wow. Oh, I love this woman, your client. I've seen her pictures.
She's like, you should. I did it too. Like I didn't intentionally up-level my friends and up-level my clients. I didn't intentionally up-level my life, but I didn't also say like, you know, everybody in a bar is a loser. Like I still have friends that hang out in bars. I have friends that party. I could still walk into a bar on occasion. It's not just where I choose to hang out every Friday and Saturday night. I'd rather be on a NASCAR track. I'd rather be somewhere else. And that's okay. That's what makes us all different. But when you are exuberantly living your life, people are attached to that magnetism. And when you have addictions and they're attaching people to that magnetism, then those are great addictions, right? But when you have addictions that are making you feel less than, or feel like you have to hide, or putting you in a hole. I mean, my brother didn't see people. He was homeless at the end of his life. You know, it was creating a huge hole in his life. And I think that, you know, at that point, when you're going down the rabbit hole, you know, people are going to lend you their hand. But when you start to pull them with you, they're not going to go. And I think our job as, you know, as we continue on the journey, as we have clients that are doing so phenomenal, all of our clients are doing so amazing. I see your clients, all of our girls. Our job, guys, is not to look down with disdain on the people who haven't gotten this secret yet. Our job is to look down and like offer our hand, have them come with us if they want to, help them, and show, like I tell my clients, I don't want you guys to transform and then just go off into the sunset. Like I want you guys to be active in the groups. I want you to be telling people, yes, this is possible. Yes, this is possible. And helping them with food logs, you know, helping them with your addictions and things like that. Like we're all, you know, again, we're all human. We all will be addicted. Like you can be addicted to something, and addiction never goes away. It's always there, right in the back of your brain. They always tell you that. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. Once a food addict, always a food addict. It's going to be there.
It's a daily practice. And I totally 100% say anything that's worth having it doesn't just stay. You kind of have to, but it gets easier. It's like muscle memory. Like I used to do yoga a lot, like 4 times a week. Before I got into bodybuilding, it was a real passion of mine. And I remember about a month ago, I hadn't done a headstand in such a long time. And I wondered if my body would remember, even though my body's very different mechanically and physically now.
Mm-hmm.
And it did. I had to remember how to put my hands around my head, and I had to put my top of my head right down on the floor, and I walked my feet in, and then my torso remembered how to lock. And then my feet were shakily coming up off the floor, and they came up straight and touched. And I was like, it remembered. But if I did a headstand regularly now, like I used to, oh Lord, it would be so natural. So I think once you've created great habits, you do need to work at them. But the longer you work at them, like your muscles, this becomes the new you. And I think that becomes like a default for you now. And so you'll probably never really fully go back to being who you very were before. But I can't speak for like physical manifestations like alcoholism and smoking. But I do think as time goes on, without those things, you get a little bit stronger, which is hopeful, I think, for people.
It does tie in though. One of my assistant coaches, she's been in AA for 7 years. And the reason that I brought her on as an assistant coach is because all of the conversations that her and I had while I was coaching her, she would always bring in her teachings from Alcoholics Anonymous and how they related to the mindset teachings that I do in my program. And I do think that they are very similar in the sense that you've got to rely on your faith, whether that's a faith in God or the universe or energy or yourself or whatever your faith is, you've got to rely on that faith, and it is a daily practice. And, seek help, seek a mentor, and that's, they're parallel. Your journey to self-improvement, your journey to overcoming addiction. And I think she would also agree with us that, you're always once an addict, always an addict, just replacing what your coping mechanism is, replacing that drink with journaling, or replacing that
barbell, the dumbbell.
Yes, replacing that spirit with a barbell. Absolutely. And let me tell you, she's doing amazing.
Workout instead of your alcohol.
Yeah, that's right. Iron therapy, it's so true. It's so helpful with so many different.
You're going to get those endorphins, you're going to get those same endorphins. Like it is kind of, it's, if you're like, because I think we have just one last thing before we finish. Then what do I want to say? Whether it's consciously or unconsciously, if you've developed a bad habit, usually it's because you don't want to look at something that really needs looking at, right? Because usually it's really painful, messy, or overwhelming, and you just don't think you can look at that. But sometimes when you trade it for a healthy habit, like working out, some of that horrible stuff unravels all by itself, I think. I don't know how, but I know it does energetically.
Motion changes emotion. So the first step, if you guys are really struggling, is to just get in motion. You don't have to lift crazy weight like we do. You don't have to have a crazy gym at home. You don't have to just move your ass. Just start there. Just go for a 20-minute walk in the morning and just start to really know yourself. Like so many people don't know themselves. We're too busy. We're always out. We're always doing for others. We're always, watching podcasts like this to try and find the answer. You don't even know who you are if you're not moving first thing in the morning. So get out for 20 minutes. Make sure that you make that time for yourself, because no matter who you are, you're worth getting to know. We think that about people that we meet all the time. First question I always ask my clients: if you were a friend of yours, would you want to continue the relationship?
That's a great question, Nora.
And that's
a great question.
From the get-go, realize, I've got some work to do or whatever. Guys, we all have work to do. It's not really scary. Everybody has work to do every single day. And the beauty of it is the more work you do, the more you look forward to it. That's why I say when we have these challenging moments now, it used to be that I would look to stop my brain, to stop that serotonin production, to stop that whole movement of my brain. And now it's like, I look forward to it because I know, number one, I always get in motion first thing. I always catch the sunrise. That's my rule for myself. That's the rule that I try to partake on. Most of my clients, they don't do it, but whatever. So, I think the sunrise is a promise to me that the sun always rises, guys, regardless of whether we want to or not. And as a fact, and I'm going to tell this to all the women out there, if you are over 40 and you're really struggling, guys, your follicular stimulating hormone, your luteinizing hormone, all that stuff, all that menopausal crap, it's a real physiological condition. Like, your body is producing less serotonin. So if you're depressed, if you're feeling like shit, there is a real physiological reason for it. The first thing to do is get out in the morning. The second thing is to realize, like, I need to move my ass so that I feel better, and create that serotonin, create those endorphins by yourself. It's much easier to kind of stagnate your brain and stay in, I call it my client's dirty diaper. I'm like, you could stay in your dirty diaper all day.
I love that. Stay in your dirty diaper.
So sweet.
Actually, it starts to smell. So if you're in a dirty diaper, you need to change it.
I love that.
I love it so much.
That's how I talk, in dirty diaper terms.
Tell it like it is, because that's our jobs as coaches. We are not cheerleaders. We're not here to tell you, oh, it's okay. It's okay. I get it. I understand. I totally understand. Next week's a new week. It is our job to tell you, to be the most honest person in your life, to tell you, get out of your dirty diaper.
Yeah, I love that phrase.
Like, the other thing is, getting out of your dirty diaper, like, yes, I want people to be honest with themselves.
Write this down.
I always too, the other thing is self-talk. Like, remember, when you're getting to know yourself and you're examining all of these ideas, and you're examining subconscious and you're examining conscious, whatever, don't talk to yourself like an idiot. Like, don't talk to yourself like you wouldn't talk to one of your friends. It's really important as women that we realize our capabilities and what we had to trade off during our lives. I wasn't always this fit. I had 6 kids. I, like Jenny, was struggling to get things done, was struggling to get, struggling with all this stuff. I was addicted to wine. I was addicted to food. I was heavy. I was anorexic. I was all these things. But the trade-off was, I was trying to raise a family, right? I was trying to just get my shit together for my kids on the table. Eventually, I got it all together, but it's real, guys. Like, you can't be mean. People come into me and they're like, I don't know how I let myself go this far. I don't know, like, how I got to this place. I don't know how I drink every night. I have clients that are still ashamed to tell me the reason they came to me was because they wanted to quit drinking. That's cool, but, like, don't talk to yourself don't accept your self-talk like you would have accepted somebody who was talking to you negatively. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't coach yourself like a mean parent. Like, nobody likes a parent, that's coming in the room and screaming, because think of that little child. Essentially, that's who you're talking to, right? When you come in a room and you're a large force screaming at somebody, you're doing the same stuff to yourself when you're saying, I don't know how I let myself get this far. Of course you did, because look at all your accomplishments that happened in that meantime. It might not have been the body you wanted. It might not have been the food you wanted, but you did it. You did something. So write down those accomplishments and learn to appreciate them.
Absolutely. Gratitude always attracts more to be grateful for.
Yeah. And I love the question. I think we should finish on this, Nora. The question that you raised there, which was, if you were outside of you, would you like yourself? What was your question? What was it?
If you met yourself as a friend, would you guys be friends?
Yeah. What do you say to that, Jenny, for you?
Oh my gosh. I would just be so aware of that self-talk. I've actually voiced a similar question to my clients. If you were to talk to your best friend the way that you talk to yourself, would your best friend receive that?
Oh no, but if Nora's posed this question, what would your answer be to Nora's question?
Oh, I'd be my best friend today.
Would you?
10 years ago, no. 10 years ago, no. I would not at all. 10 years ago, I was in a pretty dark place and I wouldn't have wanted to be around me. I put on a pretty good front though. At work with my friends, I always never let anybody know that I was suffering, but I would not have been friends with myself a decade ago.
When I think about that, I think it's a really great question, Nora, and I've never considered it. And I'm going to give it some consideration before I answer, because it's not so easy for me to answer that question.
Really?
Yeah, there's aspects of me that I would love to be friends with, and there are aspects that would really challenge me. That's why so many of my friends are not exactly the same as me. So it's a really interesting question that I'm definitely going to think. What would your answer be, Nora? You've obviously considered it before.
I tell people, I guess number one is that I have 6 kids. Number two is that I'm the oldest of 8 kids. So I've always been my own best friend.
Right. So yeah.
Something that I learned as a little kid. I mean, even in those really crazy times, again, I really, there were moments when I probably hated myself and I wouldn't have been friends with myself, but I've always kind of been that loner type, introverted, kind of like relying on myself. I mean, it was me, and then I had 5 brothers, so it's not like I had a sister to talk to. I think I was kind of conditioned to talk to myself.
Well, I think this is a great question to end on to our viewers. So may you ask it again, Nora, please, just so everybody can consider it.
Okay, so if you met yourself as a friend, would you guys be friends?
Can I just see some answers in the comments?
I would really love to see the answers, because we can't see Facebook right now. Oh no, because we're on YouTube, of course. So yeah, you can write on YouTube comments, right? Can't you?
Yeah.
But also we'll probably do a post on Facebook and Instagram after this, just to remind you to come watch this here. So again, that might create some engagement around this question, because I think it's a really great one.
If you're watching on the replay, if you're watching live, we'd love to know who we're hitting and when. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it.
100%.
Next time. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.